if we have a current carrying conductor, it is actually nothing but a semiconducting block, right? So if we have three directions here, if the say the drift velocity, that is the flow of the current, is in this direction, if the B is in this direction, say in Y direction, this has the X component only. We are saying for the sake of simplicity that it has only the X component, the drift velocity, or say the current, it has only the X component, and if this B has the magnetic field that we are providing, it has only Y component, then whatever we are getting as the output, the whole voltage, that has only the Z component. One can say that with the left hand side thumb rule, we can have the direction of the outer voltage, that is the outcome of the say semiconducting material, that is in the third direction. This is the basic principle. Now how does it work? We can say that when we provide the current, the electric field to this semiconducting material, the current will flow in one direction. If we provide the magnetic field on another direction, then the electron, those are moving in one direction, they will feel the Lorentz force. The Lorentz force that can be given as FL. All of you must be knowing it is actually Q into V cross B, right? That is QVB sin theta. Okay, so whenever the electron is experiencing a Lorentz force, it will move into another direction, and due to that there will be a cross product, and due to that all the electron after some time at the equilibrium position, after some time all the electrons are accumulated at the top of the surface, top of the material, and due to that there will be a charge accumulation at the bottom of the surface, which are positive charges, right? There is no charge separation due to the fields. The charge separation is only purely due to the Lorentz force. So this is actually QVB sin theta, and what will be the resultant direction of the electron? That will be on the upper side. Now when we have this electron, the force of the electron will be what? It is Fe, that is E, right? Lorentz force says that it is E, say QVB sin theta means E Vx By, and what about sin theta? It is actually sin 90. Sin 90 is 1, so this E Vx By, right? Now at the equilibrium condition, when we have the charge separation occurred, the event is finished, we will have FL equal to Fe, and due to that we will be having E Vx By is equal to E. Or in another way, if I don't consider the directions in the values, then we can have Vd into B equal to E, right? Because E will be cancelled, and due to this we can have Vd, the drift velocity, or say again Vd is equal to E by B. Now if the say width of the material is B, then what can you say about the potential that is generated, and what can you say about the Hall field? It is Vh equal to Eh upon B. Am I right? So this is actually the Hall voltage that is generated, and this is actually the Hall field. Eh is called the Hall field. This effect was invented in 1879 by the scientist Edwin H. Hall, and that's why it is called Hall effect. This field, this potential is known as Hall potential. or hole voltage. With the current and the another resistance value, we can derive this equations, and we can have the hole coefficient RH as 1 over N. That is, RH is the hole coefficient of the material. For a particular semiconducting material, for a particular any of the material, the hole coefficient is very important in terms of finding out the charge carriers. And how? With the derivation, we can have RH is equal to VHT upon IB. And in another equation we have written that RH is equal to 1 over NE. Now what is this VH? VH is hole voltage, T is the thickness of the material, I is the current that we are passing through, B is the magnetic field that we are providing, and RH is equal to 1 over NE. N is the majority or minor, it is actually the majority charge carrier concentration, and E is the electron charge, right? So when we can find out RH using these quantities, because hole voltage is measurable with voltmeter, I is measurable with current meter, and B is measurable with Gauss meter. So whenever we have RH, using this RH we can find out N, and with the sign of RH, whether it is positive or negative, we can determine the sign of the majority charge carriers as holes or electrons. And these holes or electrons, once we determine, we can determine the value of N, whether it is NP or whether it is NE. NP is the number or say charge carrier concentration of holes, E is the charge carrier concentration of electrons, right? So this, with this we can determine, we have learnt into the application that the first is we can determine the type of the semiconducting material, that if the RH value is positive, the majority charge carriers are holes, and then the semiconducting material is P type. And if the charge carrier, if the RH value is negative, charge carriers are electrons, majority charge carriers are electrons, then the semiconducting material is say N-type material. The second application says the sign of the majority charge carrier. That's what I said, that if it is positive, if it is negative, the holes and electrons can be determined, distinguished. And the third one is it can be used to find out the majority charge carrier concentration. Majority charge carrier concentration, NP or NE, that we can find out from this. Okay, and now we can have the third application, that is the most important application. It is mu, that is the mobility of the charge carrier. Why mobility? How do we get the charge carriers in the output, or how do we get the mobility of the charge carrier? That can be given as using, that can be find out as using the RH, that is the hole coefficient. It is actually mu is equal to sigma RH. Sigma is the conductivity of the material and RH is the hole coefficient again. If RH is positive, then I said in earlier paper that is it is P-type material. If RH is negative, it is N-type material. Based upon that, we can have the positive mobility, the mobility of the holes, that is sigma RH can be found from the RH value, and mu P can be found from this equation. Mu P is the hole mobility, mu E is the electron mobility. And in some case we can have in a particular case, if we have both type of charge carriers, then we can have a cumulative mobility, that is mu P plus mu E, that is equal to sigma RH for positive and sigma RH for negative. Okay, so this is the fourth chapter, that the last topic of the fourth chapter, that is the Hall effect. It is used for various applications, and the major applications are those which are important from the solid state physics point of view. Whenever we develop any of the material, we will have a Hall effect test, and using the Hall effect test we can have we can determine whether the material is properly developed or not, properly grown or not, in terms of whether it may be in terms of thin film, whether it may be in terms of crystals. We can have a Hall effect test, and we can measure the charge carrier concentration, as well as we can find out whether it is p-type or n-type material. We can also find out the mobility, that is the electronic properties of the material. I am very thankful to GTU and BISAC for providing me an opportunity to deliver such a lecture here. Thank you.